Welcome to another episode of Rainbow Popcorn. We are 2 out of 3 brothers reviewing queer classics. How are you, Brett?
I'm goodly. How are you?
Good. I art good. And how do you think that this drink is put forth in front of you?
I will talk normally because I'm not one of the two characters based off of Shakespeare.
Well, River Phoenix's character is not.
So I talks normal.
Yeah. And then, yes. Anyway,
Anyway,
cheers.
have a drink. It's
We
a
have-
hard-rated lemon lime.
Hard-rated lemon lime, no sugar. Because I haven't had one of these for at least a week.
I haven't had one of these for at least 48 hours.
Cheers.
Probably less than that.
They're good.
They're very good. I had several on the weekend.
I'm going to say it again. I can't wait till hard-rated orange.
Oh my God, that's good.
Is Sunkist or Fanta?
Sunkist is Solo. Sunkist is Pepsi as Fanta is to Coke.
I like Sunkist more
That was
than
in
I
an
like
IQ quiz.
Fanta. I like Sunkist more than I like Fanta.
Correct.
Hard-rated orange, no sugar.
Pepsi do
I'm gonna love
good
it.
other flavors, right? Generally, but Coke is better than Pepsi.
Also, I prefer Schweppes lemonade to Sprite.
I like a Kirk's.
Yep.
Yep. Anyway,
Kirk's no sugar drinks are good too.
I haven't had a no sugar Kirk's
They
for a
used
while.
to be a lot cheaper as an alternative to Coke and Pepsi,
because he lives.
but now they're not.
Like yesterday, I paid $4 for a lettuce.
Oh my days! That's
I
why I
know.
don't buy lettuce.
Exactly. I didn't even eat it.
My Own Private Idaho.
My Own Private Idaho. Do you know what they make in Idaho? Potatoes.
Potatoes, not lettuce. So, I'm going to say just off the top, when a movie is not good,
Yeah.
actually not. No, I'm not going to say not good. When I don't enjoy the viewing experience of a film,
Yep.
I go back to, well, I've got to think of something to say for the podcast, and I find myself falling back on my literature degree. So I'm sorry
Jesus, I'm
if
not
I
going to enjoy
start
this.
talking about theme and character and allegory, because otherwise I'm talking about using an iMovie title with a font
I
as
don't
an interlude.
know. I don't get it.
Yeah.
Idaho in purple.
Yeah.
I thought they were going to be like all the colors of the rainbow as some sort of stupid thing. But then it didn't work out. And the problem I had with this movie was, one, it was boring. Two, I don't really know what it was about.
It's about connection.
It's about Idaho,
And it's
but they
about-
spend more of their time in Portland.
It's about connection and belonging. So
Yeah, but not well. They don't do that well.
No,
I thought it was about narcolepsy.
they do that well, but what they don't do well is tell a linear story in a film, which makes you connect to characters, which then makes you realize, unless you switch off enjoying the film and start thinking as a literature graduate, this is how the film is made. So it's about connection. And one of the things that makes it about connection is that they spend a lot more time, even though they're rent boys or hustlers, depending on which
Hustlers.
plot you read online, there's not a lot of sex scenes in it
No, and if they are, they're just still photos.
that aren't photos.
Yes. That was a bit Clockwork Orange for me.
But what there are is a whole bunch of scenes of the little Dutch boy cleaning. I felt racist saying that,
know.
but it's what he is.
Especially when I just watched that Holland movie with
yeah.
Nicole Kidman in it.
And it's what he calls him. And then there's also the watching that German guy do his weird, let's be honest, German
Yeah.
performance. But then there's not any vision of anything sexual with the guy that wants him to clean. And there's only those 6 still
Yep.
shots of them having sex with Hans so that they can get a motorbike or a plane ticket.
Well, they sell the
They sell him
motorbike
the
because then
motorbike.
Hans, and then he goes to Italy. It's just, I don't get it. It was
So-
very disjointed to me.
That's what, to me, is one of the things that says it's about connection. That it's not people, there's a bit of a comment of people don't hire these hustlers or rent boys just to get their rocks off. It's because they're feeling lonely
Yeah.
and need some connection.
And they're weird Europeans.
Weird Europeans or rich weirdos.
Well, for a movie about connection, the movie wasn't very well connected.
No.
I struggled to be like, okay, where are we now? When are we now? Who's this guy? Why do you talk like that, fat guy?
And Flea.
Flea. What the fuck, Flea?
Yeah.
Actually, he was not bad.
Flea's like, I'm going to do 2 movies. Back to the Future 2 and My Own Private Idaho.
Future 2. God.
Very weird choices by Flea. Bass player for the Red Hot Chili Peppers, in case anybody didn't know. And so, yes, as a literary movie, it has themes because River Phoenix's character, Mike, is looking for connection with his mother, then with his father, and then with Scott.
Yeah.
Scott is looking for connection with his own father, but also with Bob,
But also with money.
but also with the Italian girl.
Yep.
And then Bob is looking for connection with all of these people that are around him.
Yep.
So that is a theme of the movie. It's not... I think it's really oddly weighted in that Scott isn't really a subplot. Because really, the climax of the movie is Bob and Scott's dad die. And then Scott gets his money. That's the climax of the movie.
And then
But the movie is about Mike.
Well, that's what I was like. Who's the main person here? Well, it's Mike, but then he was sleeping half the time.
But then Scott has a whole thing with Bob that's kind of subplot, but kind of isn't.
But then are we meant to know that? And then it didn't pay off?
Yeah. But then also nothing really with Mike paid off. He just went and fell asleep on the road again.
And then, like, Keanu Reeves, Scott, was then got his money and then he didn't know them anymore. So, what the fuck?
So that's the Shakespearian thing. So it is
I didn't like it.
very loosely based on King Henry IV Part 2, King Henry the Fourth Part 1, and King Henry V.
Okay.
So in King Henry IV Part 1 and 2, the son, Prince Hal,
Scott,
hangs out with the commoners.
rent boys.
And
girls.
Falstaff, Bob,
Okay.
is kind of the Fagin of the commoners.
Okay, gotcha.
Right? And so he becomes the father figure to Prince Hal because Prince Hal hates his father, who is the King Henry.
Mm-hmm.
But then King Henry dies. King Henry IV dies.
Yep.
Prince Hal becomes King Henry V
Yep.
and betrays / turns his back on Falstaff.
So does that come up in the sequel? Like, because that was the end of the movie.
Well, that's the end. That's why I'm saying it's the climax of the movie.
Oh.
This whole thing, and if you're not paying attention and if you're kind of tuning out to the weird rhythm with which they speak, you kind of miss
Which I
that
did.
Bob is expecting Scott to have money, still be friends with them and bring them all out of this dump.
Yeah. And I did
then he doesn't do
definitely tune out.
Because also, look, I'm a huge Keanu Reeves fan.
He goes okay. He's not the
Breadth
greatest actor.
breadth is not his thing.
What do you mean? He's done John Wick and The Matrix.
John Wick 2, 3, and 4.
Yeah.
Matrix 2, 3, and 4.
Yeah.
John Wick. The John Wick franchise is great. Keanu Reeves fighting is great. Keanu Reeves playing a dumb high school idiot.
Yeah,
Bill
great.
and Ted.
Yep.
Great. Keanu
Speed.
Reeves, yes. Keanu Reeves attempting to deliver not quite Shakespeare.
Uh-huh.
Not his finest acting moment.
That's what annoyed me about the writing or the words. The written words. That it was kind of Shakespeare, but not. But even
Yeah.
if they were talking normal words, old mate Bob still said it like he was Laurence Olivier.
Yeah, which he definitely is not. They're not going to name any awards after whoever played Bob.
Yeah, because exactly? You don't even know his name.
They're also, again, as much as I love him, not going to name any awards after Keanu Reeves.
They might in Hawaii.
Oh yeah,
No, they've got better people
the
now.
Hawaii Film Critic Awards. Who else is from Hawaii?
Jason
Keanu Reeves,
Momoa.
pretty big. Jason Momoa,
I don't know if he is. Am I being racist?
Bruno Mars.
Barack Obama.
That's true. And he was a president.
Nicole Kidman.
True.
I think it was odd.
And there are some odd scenes. The magazine scene is odd. I feel like it's just let's put a scene in where the rent boys talk and then they can bring up that Scott has money. But instead of putting them on a street corner to talk or in that dumb Chinese restaurant,
Or in the stupid hotel.
then we'll put them on magazine covers
Yeah.
because they also do modeling
Well, do they?
/ porn.
But they do.
But in no other moment are they getting hit on by a photographer.
No. But that's when he says like that. Yeah, they kind of talk about it, but you don't see it. But then I think I feel like the main point that scene was trying to get across was to be like, sorry everyone, Scott's straight,
yeah,
because he's like, I only do it if I get something out of it, and then if you what is it? It's when you're growing wings that you
and
become a fairy.
Yeah. And then he's calling Mike a fairy.
Yeah, it was odd.
Maybe it's not that Mike only sleeps with men. It's just that every time he tries to sleep with a woman, he has a flashback of his mum and falls asleep.
Yes, narcolepsy is brought on by women. Or his dad.
Stress.
So family life equals his trigger.
As much as they tried to make the dialogue fancy, they did just have that moment where Scott told Gary what narcolepsy is.
Yep.
Even though we got a shot of the definition of narcolepsy at the front of the movie.
Yeah,
There is a Shakespearian character who has narcolepsy, but Mike is not based on him. I can't remember off the top of my head who it is, but there is a king I think a king in a Shakespeare play who has sleep problems.
Yep.
Not because they're murdered like King Duncan in Macbeth, but
Spoiler.
it's 500-year-old.
700 years
It's a 500-year-old play. I think you're right. Mike is not based on a Shakespeare character. So to say that the film is
If he
based
is,
on...
it's bottom. That's funny.
Surely it's Gary in those long socks and those short
Gary.
pants that flew up here to be with a hairdresser.
God. The other bit with the dialogue that doesn't make sense to me, when they're in the campfire in the prequel to Brokeback Mountain,
Yeah.
and he's like, I want to kiss you. And then Keanu's like, I shouldn't say Keanu. Scott says, you know that can't happen. Two men can't love each other. For me, that makes zero sense for him to say that. Like, how can he be doing what he's doing and going through life and see the thing he's seen and think that?
I think maybe that's just a thing of his dad, because he even says, even though he calls Mike a fairy earlier on in the movie, or maybe in some dream sequence to do with the magazines, he says, you become a fairy. Isn't that right, Mike? So he's either accusing Mike of being gay or saying, be careful, Mike, you don't want to end up gay.
Yeah.
And then later he's like, two men can't love each other, even though maybe he just thinks men having sex with men is just a sex thing.
Yeah, I think
And
that's
not
what it
a
is.
connection thing.
But he says about Bob before we meet Bob, like he was in love with me. And then his dad says something like, I didn't know someone effeminate would hang around with that kind of crowd. And then when the sheriff and his dad's cronies, if that's the right word, come and find him, he has no issue with them thinking that he's sleeping with another man.
Yeah, but that's just sex. That's not love.
But then he's just using it to be like, well, fuck you guys.
Yeah.
This is wrong.
And he's using Mike. And that's hard for Mike because Mike is seeking connection.
I don't think it's the only thing that was hard for Mike.
Can't have been that hard. He didn't fall asleep.
No.
He's not that stressed.
Yeah. Because it was with a man.
Oh, that's true. Another dialogue thing that's odd is the way they wrote the reveal of the fact that his brother is his dad. That you probably missed by the look on your face there.
No.
Because they're in the
Okay,
trailer.
I tuned out a bit before that. And then I was like, wait, who's this guy? Oh, it's his brother. Because then the flashbacks were like, there were two kids.
Yep.
And then it was just like, I know who my real dad is.
It's you. Full stop.
Yep.
There was no build up to it. There was no follow on from it. It was just the brother goes, you know too much. Que sera.
Yeah,
That was
and
a
then
very
he falls,
quick connection.
Does he fall asleep and end up on the road?
No, he falls asleep and Scott takes him somewhere again.
Back to Portland? Back to Portland.
I don't know. There wasn't a colourful title to tell me.
And even though they go to Italy, all roads lead to Portland.
There's no... There's no thing that says Italy, though.
Yeah, I know, right?
It's like, why there's somewhere, sometimes, Portland, Seattle, Idaho. Portland and Seattle are cities, number one. Idaho's a state,
Yeah.
different. Italy's a country.
Boise.
Boise
I
is
don't
in
know.
Idaho.
There you go.
Yeah. I don't know why you thought of that. But then there's no, like, somehow we end up back in Portland, but there's no title for that.
No, it was odd.
But do you know the title that we do get? Have a
nice
day.
day. I don't think I will now.
You know what I
Because
should have...
either you don't get the movie and you didn't enjoy it,
Yep.
or you maybe got it and didn't enjoy it because it was sad and depressing.
Well, yeah.
So I probably won't have a nice day now because then I'm like, who picked him up off the street?
If you understood the
Keanu?
movie, as I think I may have, using all of my literature skills...
Half a master's degree.
No, that's linguistics.
Oh.
Yeah. Using all of my literature skills to stretch story elements together and divine meaning out of it.
Yeah.
If you did enjoy the film, then you're not happy at the end of it because Mike gets left for dead because
And gets robbed by two randos.
he hitched his wagon to Scott,
Yep. And
who
Scott fucked
then
him over.
Scott betrayed Bob. But because Mike was friends with Scott, Bob doesn't want to have anything to do with Mike.
Yep.
Can't find his mother. She might be dead. His brother's his dad, so he doesn't want to find his dad. And then
Yeah.
he gets his shoes taken off him on the middle of the
And his
road.
duffel bag.
Yeah. It's not a
which
happy
is
ending.
surprising because I don't think he has belongings.
He might have some cash. And he had a tissue at one point.
He did have a tissue at one point.
That's very specific.
Yeah, and so I don't know.
Have a nice day. I should have worn my new
Well, they do.
Good Place t-shirt.
He does say something.
Hello, everything is fine. That's the same
Yeah.
colour, isn't it? Green at the end?
No, I think it was like teal.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, he does say something during the movie about and there's something. Just have a nice day. So I think it's in reference to that, but I still didn't understand what that meant. I think it. I kind of want to use this phrase, but at the same time, I don't. It kind of insists upon itself.
I don't think
It tries to insist
it's
upon itself.
good enough to insist upon
Yeah.
itself. It insists upon, as a metaphor, it is not built on a solid enough foundation for the story that it's trying to tell to be built on top of it.
Wait, give me 1 second with that. Yep.
It's like it's built a house of straw.
Okay.
Yeah?
And then the big bad wolf came along.
Yes. Which is storytelling theory
Yeah.
and blew the house down.
Yeah.
It's somewhere between like a well-told story of that stuff, a direct adaptation of a Shakespeare story. And we know historically that whoever wrote Shakespeare's plays wrote very well-structured stories.
Yes.
It's somewhere between that and something like Queer or Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas that is just random vignettes of drunken 1960s American authors. It's somewhere between those two things.
Gus Van Sant,
Yes.
good filmmaker.
Good Will Hunting.
I think he works best when he's directing other people's scripts. If I'm thinking
Yep.
of the movies I've seen, wait, did he direct this as well?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, it was just odd. I don't know. It wasn't my movie. And it was just, sad, potentially gay people. At least none of them died of AIDS. I suppose that's a
true.
positive.
Within the movie, someone else might have. Good Will Hunting, My Own Private Idaho. Oh, our Nicole. Hawaii's Nicole, To Die For. Milk, that we've reviewed.
Milk, yeah.
Psycho, the remake.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Maybe it doesn't have a great filmography.
It does.
He does have a good filmography. I take that back, Gus.
Oh,
I'm very sorry if you're listening.
He made a documentary, My Own Private River, that makes him sound like...
so he's cashing in on his death now.
It makes it sound like River Phoenix was Gus Van Sant's rent boy personally. My Own Private River.
A little bit, yeah.
Google calls it an adventure/documentary.
Okay.
My Own Private River is a recontextualized adventure drama film of My Own Private Idaho. Using footage shot and directed by Gus Van Sant in 1990, the new edit gives James Franco and Van Sant a shared director credit. Well, that I'm not going to watch it. Sorry,
Yeah,
James.
but Franco's not in it.
Yeah,
But
but
that's the only reason why he would watch anything.
if
he's
you're
involved in.
taking a movie that's already weird and re-editing
adding
it and
James
redirecting it
Franco.
and adding James Franco,
Yeah, okay.
who would have been stoned, let's be honest,
Yep.
through the whole making of it in 2011, and it's peak Franco.
Yeah, that's his highest point, so
It's
to
actually-
speak.
yeah,
Let's
it's
Pineapple
actually-
Express James Franco.
Just as he really turns weird, and Dave takes over as the hot one.
Yeah, because that would have been towards the end of Scrubs. Yep, that's where he first came up.
Yeah, so James Franco was hot, then went weird, and Dave was like, well, I'll take all your hot roles then.
Yep, pretty
I'll
much.
be the hot, not quite Zac Efron in all these comedies that James Franco would have been in
Yeah,
if he didn't get so stoned with Seth Rogen.
true. I watched a Seth Rogen movie the other night.
I heard a quote from
Do you want to
Seth
guess what it
Rogen
is?
the other day.
You won't guess what it is.
He was talking about Superbad, and Sony didn't want the boys playing PlayStation in the movie
Okay.
because Jonah Hill's character, Sony said, this character is so deplorable that we don't want them touching our products.
Who do you think's buying your products,
No,
mate?
but then Seth Rogen was like, that character's based on me.
I'm going home to play PlayStation. I won't tell you what Seth Rogen movie I watched. I'll save it for our next episode. But you can have a guess. I'll reveal the answer in our next episode.
Knocked Up.
No.
Is it the one where he makes the pickles?
No?
Yeah, that's a weird one. I'll come back to that. Remind me to talk about that in our next episode because that's come up in my reels. He plays some like Polish guy that makes pickles on the street in New York. And then someone finds him and puts him on Pinterest and he gets famous or something. I don't know. I've only seen it in reels. There's also Zack and Miri Make a Porno, which I also read recently they had to change the name for or no one would release it.
What were they going to call it?
I don't know.
Maybe they called it something different in America. Because here
That's
it was
true.
that. Maybe
Yeah.
it was Zack and Miri have a sex tape. Anyway.
Yeah, that's just as bad. Anyway, My Own Private Idaho.
I think River Phoenix was very good. Even if it was just him trying to be James Dean. But I think he was good.
Yeah, I can see that.
He's the best actor in the movie.
Yep.
Then Flea.
Which says a lot about the rest of the cast.
Yeah.
Do you know who I think is the best actor? The two actual rent boys that they interviewed.
Oh,
about
they
their
did the
first
stories.
experiences.
Yeah.
I looked that up, and they are. And Gus Van Sant likes doing it, having real people in his movies, and they are, and they tell not good stories. They tell stories well.
Yes. Well, they did seem genuine, so it makes sense then.
Yeah, and I wonder how that Chinese restaurant owner feels about them just hanging out there smoking and pashing and talking about gay sex.
Well, I did think that. I'm like, they must be open 24 hours. So
That's true. I hope they ordered enough dumplings.
I think they did. Actually, they probably didn't.
No, they didn't.
Like the scene from Rent, where they just go in and get food and never pay.
Oh, okay. I wrote down
La
also
Viva Wim.
Homo on the Range.
Yep.
Which
good.
is Keanu Reeves' little cover of the magazine. It's also, is the film about rent boys? Or is it about Mike? Or is it about Scott?
No, it's about narcolepsy.
Or is it about narcolepsy? Or is it about Bob? Or is it about
That's what I
Idaho?
mean. What was the point of this movie?
Because
Was it what was the point of making it, and what point was it trying to make?
what
I learnt nothing.
what is the having those rent boys tell their stories?
Mm-hmm.
Are we trying to tell a story about we shouldn't judge rent boys?
And then was it then trying to almost be like a story about privilege? Because once he gets his money, he leaves them behind. Was that kind of the point as well?
Yeah. Well, if it's a story about rent boys, that can also make sense because we're like, oh, we shouldn't judge rent boys because they might be on the street and this is the only way they can make money and they get treated badly by people and sometimes their brother's their dad. Or is it a story about privilege? And if you have a whole lot of money, you can just muck around and do whatever the hell you like. And then once you get your money, you just fuck off and marry an Italian woman
Yep.
that you just brought over from Rome because you had good sex.
Yeah.
Or is it a story about narcolepsy?
I don't think it's a story about narcolepsy.
I also am not sure it's medically accurate.
I was going to say, I don't think it's a good depiction of narcolepsy because I was talking about someone I work with about narcolepsy. And that's narcolepsy being depicted as you just randomly fall asleep isn't the true. That's not really what narcolepsy is. That's just how whoever has taken the story and made it funny.
Narcolepsy is a chronic neurological disorder that affects the brain's ability to control sleep-wake cycles.
Yeah.
People with narcolepsy may feel rested after waking, but then feel very sleepy throughout much of... Do I have narcolepsy?
No, you have ADHD.
Oh, okay, right.
Maybe both.
Maybe Mike had ADHD.
No, he had PTSD.
Probably.
His trauma caused his narcolepsy.
That's true. Because he's...
Maybe it is about narcolepsy. I seem to have learnt a lot.
Because his mum lived in a green or maybe a blue house.
Or, I don't know. Maybe his mum wasn't real. Maybe this was all a dream that he had while he had a narcoleptic episode.
And that's why it starts on the road and ends on the same road.
Yeah, the one with the fucked up face.
Yeah.
I didn't see a fucked up face.
I saw the eyes and then I just saw a road in between them. Those two little round trees
Yeah, okay.
were meant to be the eyes.
Nah, missed it.
Maybe this whole thing is a dream and that's why it's his own private Idaho.
Because it starts and ends on the road in Idaho, doesn't
He's
it?
just fallen asleep on the road in Idaho on the way to meet his mum.
Okay.
And so he dreams about his mum. He dreams about trying to have sex with an older woman.
He dreams about Scott.
Falling in love with Scott. He dreams about playing a trick on Bob, who's robbing rock and roll stars, but then tricking them into robbing the money, but then buying a motorbike, but also giving Bob back some of the money.
Yep.
That's an actual scene from one of the King Henry plays.
Great. With
Tricking-
the motorbike and everything.
Yeah, the motorbike.
Great.
Probably a horse.
Did Shakespeare also invent motorbikes?
Shakespeare also discovered narcolepsy.
Great.
Yeah. And Rent
You know
Boys,
how I discovered narcolepsy?
this film,
Yeah.
the definition that was...
No, the symptom of falling asleep.
Oh,
Because it was
okay.
boring.
Yeah, you struggled to monitor your sleep-wake cycle.
I did. I went into a deep REM.
What else?
I don't have much more to say about it. I think it's a bit overhyped, this movie. Like, I've heard of it before, and everybody's like, oh, it's amazing. But I think it's just arty nonsense.
Is it just like River Phoenix, not like James Dean, because I don't want to get in trouble from you like the time I compared Michael Bublé to Frank Sinatra to our grandfather, and then he almost disowned me.
Oh, okay.
Is it just a bit like River Phoenix, because he was very talented and died so young,
Yeah.
everything he does is a masterpiece.
It is a bit like that. Whereas it's not a great movie.
His acting is very good.
His acting is very good, and you do watch it and you go, oh, he could have done great things. Like that AI video I saw on TikTok of if he lived, he would have won an Oscar. Like, you don't know that. Maybe Joaquin wouldn't have a career.
Joaquin could have had a career.
Joaquin's good. I'm not saying Joaquin's not good. But would we care about who Joaquin is if his brother didn't die? That's very harsh, Brett. That's not quite good. That's a very stupid thing to say. But I'll still pose the question.
I think Joaquin...
He's a Nepo baby in a different way.
Brother. He's a Nepo baby brother.
Yeah.
But I think he's very talented. I think the world would have had enough space for Joaquin and River. Look, the world has enough space for Owen and Luke Wilson.
The world has enough space for... Actually, no, they didn't for 2 Francos.
The world has enough space for 2.5 Jonases.
They have enough space for 2.5 Hemsworths.
Yeah.
We'll be fine.
And if they can find space for Owen and Luke Wilson, that's going to be my example.
Yeah.
Because Luke Wilson, I could not name a film that he's in, but then occasionally we go, oh, that's Luke Wilson.
If both Maggie and Jake Gyllenhaal can find work, then River and Joaquin could have found work.
Look, if Joan Cusack has done as many movies as she's done...
How many more siblings can we name? If Emma Roberts... No.
If Mary
Julia
Kate
Roberts.
and Ashley did as many seasons of Full House as they've done...
Yeah.
No, I think there definitely would have been enough space for Joaquin and River. There would have been people that would have lost iconic roles to
like
River
Johnny
Phoenix. Yeah, probably. Not
Leo.
Pirates. Leo.
It's like Paul Newman got his first movie because James Dean was meant to play it, but then he died. So then if James Dean didn't die, would we know who Paul Newman is? Because Paul Newman, it would have been James Dean and Elizabeth Taylor in Cat on a Hot Tin Roof instead. Anyway, that's a bit off-centre.
That would have been
It would have been a very good movie. And it would have been a giant reunion.
Did he have a brother, though?
Who?
Either of them. James Dean or Paul Newman.
James Dean didn't. I don't know about Paul Newman. He just makes salad dressing.
Might have had a not famous brother.
Maybe. Hal Newman. That's a person. I just made that up.
Randy Newman?
Randy Newman.
Alfred Newman.
Alfred Newman.
There are a lot of Newmans out there.
There are.
Newman.
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 I don't know his first name. Oh, his first name is Newman.
What's
Wait.
his last name?
Is his first name Newman or his last name Newman? Oh my God. I've never asked myself that question before.
I'm going to tweet Jerry Seinfeld. Once he's over ranting and raving about masculinity, I'll ask Jerry Seinfeld if Newman has a first name.
So you won't for a while?
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, he's ranting about inclusion at the moment, but we'll talk about that in next week's episode.
I look forward to it. And maybe my next week's episode we will have found out what name is Newman.
I'll do some research in the break.
Great.
What's your one-line review for My Own Private Idaho?
A sleepy movie that doesn't quite get its point across.
Mine is, would have been forgotten about if River Phoenix didn't die.
Jesus Christ.
I
mean, yeah, okay.
There's a lot of weird arty movies.
Yeah.
That people are just like, yeah, that was just an early River Phoenix movie. You know what I mean? Like, that's what it would have been. Not,
I prefer
oh my God, this is great.
I prefer him in Stand By Me.
Yeah, same. But I prefer Jerry O'Connell in Sliders.
Yeah. I don't know anything else of Jerry O'Connell that I can name.
Wildcats, very deep cut from the 90s.
He's like on a talk show now, I think, with women.
Jerry
He's
O'Connell?
on
The View or
and
something.
And he dated Rebecca Romaine.
The View or The Circle?
No, it's like The Talk or something.
Oh,
It's
Talk.
like
yeah.
not there. It's like the 4th tier chat. It's like America's version of that Studio 10.
Studio 10.
Yeah.
Or is it, as Jerry O'Connell gets older and as masculinity becomes a topic that you have to talk about it on TV in Trump's America, is it going to be a resurgence of Beauty and the Beast? from the
Oh,
90s.
Jesus.
Remember that Australian show? Stan
Buttrose?
Zamanek, Ida Buttrose, Jeannie Little.
Jeannie Little.
Yeah.
And that other one.
There was a couple of rotating ones, but
Yeah.
they were main
Probably
ones.
Angela Bishop.
No,
been
she's
around
too
for a
good
while.
for that.
Is she?
Yeah.
Okay.
At that
Anyway,
time-
other people that don't know Australian talk shows, this is so off topic.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Rainbow Popcorn. That is My Own Private Idaho. You can let us know in the YouTube comments what you think of the movie. Were we too harsh? Were we too kind?
Probably a bit harsh.
Or you can also get in touch with us on the socials about what other queer movies you would like us to watch. Up next is just a general chat episode.
Yep.
Because this wasn't that, despite the last 10
most
minutes
of it being general
of
chat.
it. And then later on, we're reviewing a camp classic. So let us know if there's any camp classics that you'd like us to watch as well. We've got a few on the list to come, and they're going to be good. So that's it. Thank you, Brent.
Thanks, Lee.